Once in the Emerald Valley of OakHaven, there lived a girl named Amara. While the village was prosperous, Amara's family lived in a crumbling stone hut at the very edge of the woods. Her father was a broken-hearted woodcutter, and her mother a weary spinner. As a child, Amara was the target of every cruel joke. The village children, dressed in fine silks, would point at her patched tunics and call her Dust Girl. The adults were no better. They whispered that poverty was a stain and warned their children not to play with someone so unlucky. Amara spent her days in silence, helping her father in the forest, her head bowed against the weight of their mockery. The village square, a fountain sits in the center, dry and dusty. Amara is carrying a heavy bucket of water toward the outskirts. She wears a simple faded dress that cannot hide her grace. Mira and Cassio stand by the fountain, dressed in fine silks, eating grapes. Myra laughed and said to Cassius, "Look, the dust girl has grown up, but she still smells of pine needles and poverty." Cassius said mockingly, "Careful, Demara. If you trip and break that bucket, your father will have to chop wood for a month just to buy a new one." Amara stops and looks at them calmly and said, "The bucket is strong, Cassius. Perhaps you should worry more about the drought than my father's axe." Mira sneered and said, "The drought? My father has tanks of wine and deep wells. Poverty is your curse, not ours. Now run along back to your hut. You're blocking the view." Amara walks away, head held high as she kneels down and whispers to the ground and said, "Be patient, little ones. The rain is sleeping, but I can hear your roots calling." Time, however, is a master weaver. As the years passed, a quiet miracle unfolded. The dust girl began to change. By the time Amara turned 19, she had blossomed into a woman of breathtaking beauty. She was tall and lithe, with skin the color of warm honey, and hair that fell like a silken midnight waterfall. Most striking of all were her curves. Strong and graceful, she looked less like a peasant and more like a statue carved by a master artist. The very villagers who had spat in her path now stopped and stared. Young men who once threw stones now threw clumsy compliments. But Amara remained humble, her heart still remembering the sting of the earlier cruelty. Unknown to all, the night Amara was born, the goddess of the earth had visited the hut. She had breathed a spark into the infant's lungs, whispering, "You shall be the heartbeat of the valley. When the earth weeps, you shall be its strength." Amara felt this power as a hum in her veins. She could hear the trees breathing. She could feel the water moving deep underground. She kept it a secret, using her gift only to grow small patches of medicinal herbs to help her aging parents. The sweetness of the valley was shattered during the summer solstice. Without warning, the sky turned a bruised, sickly green. A great drought, cast by an ancient shadow, took hold in a single afternoon. The village well, the lifeblood of Oakhaven, hissed and went bone dry. The crops withered to black ash. Before the villagers' eyes, panic erupted. The wealthy merchants offered gold to the sky, but the sky offered no rain. By the third day, the village was parched, the air so hot it burned to breathe. Then the earth began to tremble. A massive fissure opened in the center of the square, threatening to swallow the granaries. The mayor paced. Villagers ran and fanned themselves, looking exhausted. The ground suddenly shakes, a deep, low rumble. The mayor shouted, "The great well is empty, the earth is cracking open." The villagers pointed and said, "Look, the granary, the ground is swallowing it." A loud crack echoes. A fissure opens. People scream. Mira and Cassius fall to their knees, clutching their expensive silk robes. Mira said, "My gold! I'll give all my gold for a cup of water." Cassius said, "There's no water to buy. We're going to burn." The heat seems to intensify. Amara enters, no longer looking like a peasant. She stands tall, her eyes glowing with a faint green light. Amara walks toward the center of the square. The mayor tries to block her, saying, "Get back, girl. This is no place for a woodcutter's daughter." Amara spoke with a voice echoing with power. "This is the only place for me. You spent years mocking the earth beneath my feet. Now you must watch it save you." Amara kneels. She presses her palms to the stage floor. The music shifts from panicked drums to a majestic rising orchestral swell. Amara began to speak. "Mother of the deep, heart of the root, awaken. The thirst is long, but the blood of the mountain is eternal." The lights turn a brilliant emerald green. A strobe light flashes white. Amara's hair blows back as if in a gale. She slams her fist down. Amara shouts, "Rise!" A fountain of crystal clear water exploded from the dry earth, shooting 50 feet into the air. The fissure closed as if stitched by invisible hands. The black crops turned green in a heartbeat, and a cool, refreshing mist washed over the gasping villagers. The villagers are drenched, laughing, and drinking from their hands. Amara stands slowly, her glow fading into a soft, beautiful warmth. The silence that followed was heavy with shame. The villagers looked at the girl they had mocked, the girl who had just saved their lives, their homes, and their children. The mayor, Mira, and Cassius approached her, dropping to their knees. The mayor broke down and said, "Amara, we called you Dust Girl. We treated your family like the dirt we walked on." Mira also spoke out quietly. "I had everything, yet I was the one who was empty. You had nothing, yet you held the world in your hands. Can you forgive me?" Amara smiled gently, looking at the people who had spent years making her feel small. She said, "I don't want your gold or your apologies. I only want you to remember this. The smallest seed can grow the tallest tree. Never mock the person who stands in the shadows. For one day, they may be the only one who can bring you into the light." The voice of the goddess echoes saying, "The test is past. The heart that was walked upon has become the heart that heals." Amara's father enters and embraces her. The villagers form a circle around them, clapping. From that day on, Amara was no longer the girl at the edge of the woods. She was the guardian of OakHaven. Her family's hut was replaced by a beautiful stone manor, built by the hands of the villagers, who were eager to make amends. She married a kind-hearted blacksmith who had been the only one to offer her a piece of bread when she was a hungry child.